Sisson. He's the National Executive Director of ConserAmerica Energy Legislation. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, Rob.
Good morning, Kyle.
Well, it seems like we are seeing a lot more wind energy across the state. Tell us how much more we're seeing compared to just 4 years ago.
Well, since Michigan enacted its renewable portfolio standard, wind essentially has created all of the 10% that we need for renewable that we set as a goal. So wind has grown dramatically in Michigan, and in that time, according to the Public Service Commission, wind energy now is the cheapest form of energy in the state.
Well, that's really interesting. Now, I was covering a House Energy Committee meeting yesterday where we had the Union of Concerned Scientists say that we could generate 30% of our energy from renewable sources like wind by the year 2030. And he said we can do it without blanketing the entire state with windmills. And that's always a concern, that you want to bump up how much energy we get from wind. Does that mean that we're going to turn around and see a windmill everywhere going vroom, vroom, vroom?
No, it doesn't. And I did see the Union of Concerned Scientists study or report, and that's very encouraging. I also saw yesterday some new wind technology that doesn't involve a bladed turbine that does not move and is absolutely quiet. As we continue to invest and do research in alternative forms of energy, we come up with more creative and more interesting ways to do it that solve some of these problems. Like people have these concerns about the view shed up in Grand Traverse County, say, or the noise of the thumping of the blade. So we are addressing those, and just in the short time that Michigan has been active in renewable energy, the efficiency and some of those problems like the noise have been greatly reduced.
What are the chances that we're going to see windmills out in the middle of the Great Lakes?
I would say not very great.
Okay.
Just because the Great Lakes are such a tremendous asset and treasure for not only citizens in Michigan but throughout the Great Lakes Basin. Now, I have heard people talk about offshore wind could provide all the energy we need in the state and the region if we wanted to go that way. It's much more expensive to do that. And again, as technology emerges and develops, maybe it's something we will see. But right now, I don't see that. I think we have enough onshore capability to continue to achieve our clean energy goals.
Let's talk about solar, because that's something that's used a lot out down south in Arizona and so forth, where they get a ton of sun. We don't get a lot of sun up here. How much of how viable, I guess, is solar energy here in Michigan?
Yeah, solar is quite viable in the state of Michigan, and the reason I say that is because we're roughly the same latitude as Germany, and Germany has gone great guns with solar and doing great with it right now. I think the solar industry, of course, naturally, if you're in business, are going to be focused on states that get sun 364 days of the year, like Arizona, California, and Florida. So I think we'll continue to see solar. Solar, like wind, has some issues in that it doesn't produce power continuously, and you have to match it with reliable base load energy production or battery technology. And so like rooftop solar and battery storage technology for a home is still out of the pocketbook range for most Michiganders at this point.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you about that. We're talking with Rob Sisson. He's the National Executive Director of ConserAmerica Energy. If I wanted to put some type of solar panel roofing on my house, when would I actually see benefit from it in my pocketbook?
Yeah, I mean the payback depends on the array and the type of solar you put on. Now we haven't seen it in Michigan yet, to my knowledge, but in several states, those I mentioned, I believe New Jersey as well has this, where third parties can come install them on your roof, and they basically take the reduction in your electricity bill as payment towards those. So you see no net increase in cost or nothing out of your pocket to adapt solar, but you don't actually have additional discretionary money for several years. But there are third-party leasing companies that are making inroads and adding state by state each year.
So that's a private company. That's not being done by the utility at all.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Although some utilities, particularly in California, are looking at doing solar. And again, because there's a real concern that lower-income, mid-income people may not be able to afford or believe they can't afford solar. utility companies are looking at, hey, you know what? We can install these on our customers' roofs as a source of power generation. We can manage it. It comes into our grid. So there's some very innovative plans and strategies from utilities in that regard too.
There are other alternative energy sources out there besides wind and solar, isn't there? In fact, I was hearing during this committee meeting someone talk about some type of energy generation involving milk. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not.
Okay, but talk about some of the strange or different energy sources we can get out there.
Well, I'm located based in St. Joseph County, and we have 5 or 6 CAFOs here, where large concentration of animals being raised that create a lot of manure, and we have yet to use that as an energy source. I know in Iowa, there's a small town in Iowa that had a problem with large animal farms, and they went together in a cooperative fashion and built a methane digester where all these farms ship their waste, and it's converted into energy with whatever. Then there's just a dried organic material that's left that doesn't smell and can be put on fields as fertilizer.
So you take this cow pucky and you throw it in something and it generates electricity?
Yeah. The anaerobic digesters create methane by eating all the crap in the crap, and that's burned as natural gas is burned to create energy.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Rob Sisson,